Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to do a deep dive into something pretty dark,
Sure.
the shocking downfall of Pastor Elijah King. We got a lot of source material here, actually. Court documents, psychological reports, interviews. It's a really, really fascinating story. This seemingly perfect family, respected pastor, the whole 9 yards, and then, bam, DNA test unravels everything.
Yeah, it really does make you think, doesn't it? You know, how fragile everything is. You build this life, this family, everything seems perfect on the outside, and then, well, you said it, DNA test changes everything. It all starts in Florida. This seemingly idyllic family, Elijah King, the pastor, his wife, Naomi, their 5 kids, pillars of the community, active in their church, the picture of faith and togetherness.
Right, exactly. And then, their oldest daughter, Abigail, she suggests they all do one of those DNA tests, just as a fun family thing.
Right, and nobody could have predicted what happened next. Elijah gets his results back, and it turns out he's not the biological father of any of his 5 children. Can you imagine that? It's like your whole world just crumbles around you. Everything you thought you knew, gone.
I can't even imagine. And to make it even worse, the results point to a close relative as the biological father, someone who'd also done the test.
Yeah, and get this. It was Deacon Henry King, Elijah's own father, a respected figure in the church, close to the family. I mean, talk about betrayal. The person Elijah trusted most in the world had been lying to him for his entire life, basically.
It's just crazy. It's like all those family dinners at Deacon Henry's house, all those, moments of shared faith and togetherness. It all takes on this whole new meaning. It's really disturbing. Like, how could you be so close to someone
Right.
and not have any idea?
Well, that's the thing about these cases, isn't it? You start to wonder, were there any signs, anything that could have tipped people off? Or was Henry just that good at hiding his true nature?
Well, and, after the initial shock, you have to imagine Elijah's just desperate for answers. He confronts Naomi, and she finally breaks down, confesses that Henry had been abusing her for years.
Yeah, that really adds another layer to this whole story, doesn't it? I mean, it's just heartbreaking. This woman trapped in a situation she felt powerless to escape. And then, you think about the abuse happening within a family where, like, appearances are everything and secrets are kept, locked away. It's just awful.
Yeah, and for Elijah, this wasn't just about his wife's suffering. It was about the betrayal. His father, the man he looked up to, had violated everything he held sacred. His family, his faith, everything.
Right, it completely shatters his world, his beliefs, his understanding of right and wrong. I mean, can you imagine?
And it's in all this pain and betrayal that Elijah, he starts to change. He goes through this, terrifying transformation. The man who preached forgiveness, he's now consumed by rage, wants revenge.
It's a complete 180, isn't it? The contrast between his past, preaching love and mercy, and then this desire for vengeance. It really makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, did the betrayal change him? Or did it just, tear away a mask he was wearing? Was this darkness always there under the surface?
That's such a good question. Was he always capable of this?
Yeah.
Or did his father's actions push him over the edge?
It's tough to say for sure, but, the path from betrayal to vengeance, it's paved with anger. And with Elijah, well, it's clear that anger is going to lead him down a very dark path.
And it's like the betrayal just unlocks something in him, something dark. I mean, the way he plans his revenge, it's chilling. He's so calm about it. Like it's almost ritualistic.
Right. Like he's not just lashing out. It's calculated, premeditated. And the details are they're horrifying. He goes to Naomi first, right?
Yeah.
With a kitchen knife. And he confronts her.
Yeah.
But it's not with screaming and yelling. It's this cold rage, almost like he's completely detached from it all.
Yeah, it's almost scarier than if he was just flying off the handle. This coldness. It's unsettling.
Absolutely. It's like he's completely broken from the person he used to be. The man who preached forgiveness, he's gone. And the way he kills her, it's brutal. It's not just about ending her life. It's about making her suffer.
And then he goes after his father. It was like, it was always going to end this way.
Yeah.
It was his fate.
Yeah, and the confrontation with Henry, it's equally disturbing. He doesn't just attack him. He shows him the DNA results first. He wants to rub it in his face, make him see what he's done.
Right, he wants to make him feel powerless.
Yeah.
The same way he felt.
Exactly. And the way he attacks him,
Yeah.
it's just savage. You can sense the rage just pouring out of him. It goes way beyond revenge. It's like he wants to humiliate him, degrade him.
It's a twisted kind of justice. And the craziest part is, after he does all this, he doesn't run. He just walks out of the house, sits on the porch, and waits for the police. And when they get there, he just says, "It's done. God's justice has been served.
Oh, man. That's just chilling. I mean, he's totally convinced that he was doing the right thing, that he was like an instrument of God.
It's terrifying. Like, how can faith be twisted like that?
Mm.
And that belief that he was doing God's work, it played a huge role in his trial.
Yeah, the courtroom basically became this battleground. You had all these different interpretations of faith, of morality, of what justice even means.
And the media. They were all over it. The public was divided. Some people saw Elijah as a victim, pushed too far. Others saw him as a cold-blooded killer, hiding behind religion.
The defense tried to argue that he had a psychotic break, that finding out his whole life was a lie on top of the abuse, that it just pushed him over the edge.
They brought in experts, you know,
Yeah.
talking about the psychological effects of betrayal, the trauma.
Yeah.
They said he wasn't in control of his actions.
Right. They tried to paint him as this broken man, robbed of his sanity.
But the prosecution, they saw it differently. They focused on how much planning went into the murders and how he didn't seem to feel any remorse afterwards.
Right. They were like, this wasn't some crazy act. This was calculated.
Yeah.
They brought up how he bought the knife days before, how methodical he was, how calm he was after.
And they used his own words against him, that whole God's justice thing.
Yeah, that was a big part of it. They said he was twisting his faith to justify what he did. They said he was a manipulator, that he was using religion to hide his true intentions.
They said if they let him get away with it, it would set a dangerous precedent. Like anyone could just, take the law into their own hands.
And the whole trial, it really became this debate about faith, about how far you can push forgiveness, about what justice is.
And after days, days of deliberating, the jury finally came back. They found Elijah guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder.
Yeah, the judge, he acknowledged what Elijah went through, but he said that didn't excuse what he did. He said you can't just, decide to kill someone, no matter what they did to you.
And so Elijah King, the pastor everyone looked up to, he was sentenced to life in prison, no parole. His whole story, it's just this cautionary tale about betrayal, about rage, and about how dangerous it can be when faith and violence get mixed up together. It's a tragedy all around. And then, you think about the kids. What happened to them?
Yeah. It's just heartbreaking. 5 kids, all orphans now. They got split up, put into foster care.
Yeah.
And can you imagine trying to process all that, finding out about your parents, the abuse, the murders?
I can't even imagine. They lost their parents, their home, their whole sense of family, everything they thought they knew, just gone.
It's a tough reminder that these crimes, they don't just impact the people directly involved,
Right.
They ripple outwards, touching everyone around them, leaving all this pain and brokenness behind.
The King family, they were like this symbol of faith in their community.
Mm-hmm.
And then it all just imploded. It's like a warning almost about how even the most perfect-looking lives can have these dark secrets underneath.
And this whole case, it brings up these really difficult questions about justice, about morality. Like, can you ever justify taking the law into your own hands, even if you've been wronged? I mean, where's the line between being angry and doing something like this?
Right, it's such a gray area.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you understand Elijah's pain, the betrayal, but he killed 2 people in cold blood.
Exactly. And, the legal system, it's not perfect, but it's supposed to make sure things are fair, that
Yeah.
everyone gets a fair shot. If we let people just decide their own version of justice, it would be chaos.
So what can we learn from all this? It's such a messed up situation. What's the takeaway?
Well, I think it shows how important it is to talk about things, to be open, especially when things are hard. Like maybe if Naomi had felt like she could tell someone about the abuse, or if Elijah had found a healthier way to deal with his father, maybe things would have been different.
It also shows that we need to do more to help people who are being abused. Make sure they feel safe coming forward. That they know people will believe them and support them.
Totally. And we got to challenge those harmful ideas about masculinity. That can lead to abuse and violence. We need to teach kids, boys and girls, how to have healthy relationships, about consent, respect, all that.
This case, it's tough to think about, but it gives us a chance to really look at these issues, to talk about them, and hopefully to work towards a world where this kind of thing doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, it's a dark story, for sure. But maybe we can learn something from it and use it to make things better.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into the downfall of Pastor Elijah King. It's a story that really makes you think about good and evil, faith, justice, and how complex people can be. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back soon with another deep dive.